Guys, it's Miss Gwen from Shades Out of School Time from Mount Olive, and today I want to show you how to make a lion using a little bit of red and yellow paint and a fork. The supplies you're going to need is some red and yellow paint, so I have my red and yellow paint here. You're going to need something small to make a circle with. This is a little cup that I have, and I'm just going to use the edge here for a circle. I'm going to put it on yellow construction paper because I think that's going to make it really pop here in a second. I'm going to need a pair of scissors and a fork. I'm going to use a paintbrush just to mix some paint, but we're not really going to paint with this. We're just going to stir it up. I need something to draw with and a little tiny scrap sheet of black construction paper and a little tiny piece of white paper, a little bit of Elmer's glue. So basic supplies that you have around the house. What you're going to do to start with to make the lion is you're going to trace around whatever your circle is with, I'm going to use a Sharpie because we're going to use other colors on his face that will go well with this. So I'm going to use my Sharpie and I'm going to trace around the edge of my small circle. And this is just going to give me an outline so I know where to put the mane for his face. Set that off to the side. I've got a circle on my piece of paper. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow paint and I'm going to mix a little bit of red paint to get orange. So I've got a paper plate here that I just used for mixing. I'm going to take kind of a scoopful of the yellow, about like that, and put it on the plate. I'm going to do probably 3 scoops of the yellow. And we can always come back and get more in a second if we need to. I am going to rinse my paintbrush in a cup of water because I do not want to put all that yellow paint in the red. And I'm just going to rinse that out kind of like this, tap it off a little bit, and clean my paintbrush so that it is dry and cleaned and there's no paint on it, so I can dip into my red paint. I'm going to take maybe 1 scoop of the red paint, 1 big scoop like that, and throw it into that orange, or that yellow. And now that I'm just going to use kind of a stirring motion, and I'm going to see if I can make orange out of this. It's starting to turn orange a little bit. I'm just going to keep stirring. Looks like I might need a little bit more red paint in there to get that a nice pretty orange color. So far I've used 3 scoops of yellow, 1 scoop of red. I'm going to add another scoop of red and see if I can't get that just a bit more orange. I'm going to rinse my paintbrush again so that I'm not mixing paint into my container. Dry it off just a little bit so that my paintbrush is nice and clean. Let me get 1 more scoop of that red and see if we can't make this turn orange. So I'm just mixing it kind of like a stirring motion. And I like the way that looks. So I'm going to use this paint that I have made for the orange, and I am going to use my fork to make the mane of my lion. Clean my paintbrush, set that off to the side, and I'm going to use the fork and just a simple dabbing motion in this orange, and I only want to go around the outside edge of my circle. I do not want to go inside the circle. So I am just going to dab my yellow or my orange paint using my fork around the outside edge of my circle. For this particular project, it might be easier to turn your paper so that you're not accidentally sticking your hand in wet paint. And this dabbing motion with the fork is going to make the mane or the fur around my lion's head. And I like the way this looks, but I want him to be really bushy, really furry. So I'm going to go around 1 more time with the orange paint. And I'm just going to kind of dab It almost looks like a sun. But when we get done and we add the face to it, you'll see that it's going to turn into a lion. Dab a few more times just right here around the edge and get back to the beginning of where my paper is. And you can see that it kind of looks like a sun, but this is going to be the mane. And if you wanted him to have more fur around the top part, you could definitely add more. If you wanted him to be a little less furry around the bottom, it's however you want your lion to look. I'm going to add a little bit more up at the top, make his mane a little bit bigger around the top part of his head. And this is going to be the outline of my lion. I'm going to move my paint off to the side. And while this is drying a little bit, I am going to make the eyes and the mouth. Put the lids on my paint, move those out of the way. In order to make the eyes, or the mouth, the nose, I mean, in order to make the nose, I'm going to use my black construction paper. This is just a scrap sheet of construction paper. And I'm going to kind of freehand a triangle with rounded corners. So it might be easier if you start with a triangle. And you want to remember the size of your circle. You don't want your triangle to be too big, nose of your lion to be too big. I'm going to start with a triangle about like this. And then I'm going to just take my scissors, and I just freehanded that. I didn't draw it out or anything. And then I'm just going to kind of round the corners off of my triangle. And when I do this, it's going to give him kind of a cat nose, which is what we're going for. So I've kind of rounded the corners off of my triangle that I've cut out. And I'm going to put those on his little face. I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm going to make his eyes. And when I do the eyes, I'm going to take a regular sheet of paper and I'm going to fold it in half. And the reason is because you can make one cut and get two identical eyes. And that's what we want. We don't want the eyes to be off-centered or different sizes, a left eye too big, a right eye too little. And I'm just going to start on the edge of the paper and I'm going to kind of cut a circle. So in order to do this, you just kind of turn your paper a little bit. And I'm just freehanding this as well. It doesn't have to be perfect. Art is very creative. It's whatever you want it to be. And so you can see that my circles are pretty big, and these are actually kind of ovals, not circles. I'm not real happy with the way that looks, so I'm going to trim it down just a little bit more. See if I can't get more of a circle shape instead of an oval shape. That's better. I like that better. So I've got a circle shape that I have cut out from white paper, and because I folded my paper in half, I actually have two that are the same size that are going to be on his face. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a little bit of my Elmer's glue, and I'm going to glue the eyes down first because I want those to go towards the top of his head. So I've got plenty of room for his nose. And I'm being very careful not to stick my hand in the paint of his mane because all that is still wet. I'm going to position those about where I want them. So you can see he's starting to get a little bit of a face. I'm going to use the triangle that I cut out with the rounded corners. A little dab of glue on the back of that. Now you would like for the triangle to face towards the top. So you can see he's got a little nose now. Now then, I'm going to use my marker, and down beneath his nose, I'm going to do two lines. It's going to come straight down from his nose, and then kind of curve back up to the right, and straight down from his nose, and curve back up to the left. This gives him his mouth. And he'll need to have some whiskers, so I'm going to give him a few whiskers right there underneath his nose by his mouth. I'm going to do that by just making some dots. I did 4 on each side, and then you want to do little lines off of those dots for his whiskers. And you're just going to drag your marker out towards the edge from those dots and give him some whiskers. And so my lion now has whiskers. He needs some eyeballs in those eye sockets that he has, so I'm going to draw on my eyeballs, which are just going to be some black circles inside the white circles. I'm going to make my lion look a little bit cross-eyed. His eyes are going to go a little bit towards the center, and I'm just going to color in those black circles that I made inside the white circles. And there you go. Just like that, you can make a cute little lion using nothing but yellow paint and red paint mixing together in order to make the orange, and then making his face after you have painted. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.